So let's talk about what goes into making a great artwork. Um, there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but really to make a great artwork, one, you need an idea. You need reference photos because no artist draws just from their imagination. They use photos to help them get proportions correct or to help figure out angles. It makes an artwork more realistic, more lifelike, and it just makes an artist stronger when they're using reference photos. Um, and the two things we're going to really discuss in this slide presentation is a good composition and strong values. So I feel like there's a lot of things you can do to make a great artwork, but if you have a really good composition and you have a really good sense of values, and when I say values, I don't just mean black and white because color can have value too. There can be dark reds, there can be light reds. So but understanding how value works could really help you create a really great, amazing artwork. So, we're going to start by looking at composition. Composition is just how you arrange everything. So, it's kind of like arranging everything in your bedroom, like you have everything in just the right place and it feels right. And if one thing is not in the correct spot, it feels wrong. And that's the same thing with an artwork. You can have a really beautiful artwork, beautifully drawn, well done, but if something is slightly off, it'll feel weird. It won't feel very pleasant to look at. So you definitely want to keep composition in mind. There's quite a few different types of composition, so we're just going to focus on four. Symmetrical balance is one, asymmetrical balance, radial balance, and rule of thirds, which is one of my favorites. So, symmetrical balance, it just means that both sides are equal in visual weight. So, it's kind of like you have these scales, and you can either have exactly the same thing on both sides, or you can have two objects that are similar in size but might be different in shape. So, here in this painting, we have this bowl of fruit. We have two different vases with two different flower arrangements. And then in between the flower arrangements and the fruit are we have some twigs on one side and like a little branch of fruit on the other. So they don't have to be the exact same thing, but they just need to be in the same place on both sides and in like and around the same like size. Um, and this is a really easy composition. Depending on what you're doing, this is a really easy way to put a focus on something. So whatever's in the center is automatically the focus. But you want to be careful about this one because it could be really boring. And you'll hear artists use the word static. It'll feel very static, which means it's not moving. It's not as visually interesting as any of the other ones. So this is a good safe one, but you want to be careful about using it too much. This one, asymmetrical balance. This one is very similar to rule of thirds um, in that it's being balanced by other things. So here, asymmetrical balance, we have the artwork divided in half, and on one side you have a larger item being balanced by smaller items on the other side. So the smaller items kind of create like an equal balance of the artwork. And it's just not everything's the exact same size. So I like this one because it creates a lot of visual interest. It creates a diagonal. So like the woman here, her eyes are leading down here. And then, you have all this darkness and it kind of leads back up here. Your eyes kind of come back to her because she's so bright and everything else around her is dark. But you have this little bit of light here on the wall that helps kind of balance the white around her headdress. So you have a balance here that works really well. So asymmetrical balance is just one bigger item on one side balanced by a group of smaller items on the other side. And they don't have to take up the same space. You don't really want them to take up the same amount of space. Okay. Radial balance. This means your eye is moving towards the center in a swirl-like pattern. So it's kind of like the seashell where you follow the ring of the seashell here and it leads you down into the center. People who do radial balance compositions in my art classes, they tend to get this wrong where they do like a radial thing in the corner. It has to be the whole artwork. So like here, the kimono or the outfit of the person here, it's kind of flowing with the fish. The fish are kind of like the body of his outfit here, and they're going in this round pattern and they're getting smaller and they're moving in here. So we've got these bigger items here and they're all swirling in towards the center, and they're all leading towards his hand, the gentleman's hand, as it's painting. So when we're looking at radial balance, it's the whole painting is swirled, not a small part of it. And this is probably my favorite composition, rule of thirds. And so what's happening is whatever the size of your canvas is, so this square here, if you take it and you divide it into 3 equal parts. And it doesn't matter if the artwork is rectangular or if it's square, you divide it up into 3 equal parts. And whatever you want to be focused, so like here in the photo of this person on the bike, that is what we want to be in focus. That's the one thing we want people to notice first. So to make it noticeable, you put it on or really close to the lines here. Anything else you don't really want on the lines, because then that becomes like anything that gets put on those lines becomes like the focus. So you don't want to put everything on there. You just want to have like usually like your horizon level or your ground line is on one line, and then your object is either on 2 or 1 of the lines. Actually, sorry. The image on the bottom right, the figure standing by the pole is the focus. So the pole is really on that rule of thirds line, but the figure is right next to it, and so that brings us that brings our eyes to look at that person. The figure at the bottom, she's kind of on that line, that horizontal line at the bottom, but because she's not on the vertical line, she's not like a main focus. So you're not going to focus on her immediately. You're going to focus on the pole and the person standing. So this is definitely one of my favorites to use. It's very easy to use, and it's fail proof, and it creates a lot of energy when used correctly. You just want to be careful about putting too many things on those lines, and then you want those lines to be erased because a lot of people leave the lines there.